manage the finance? How do we get finance? How do we start our business? And how do we manage the finance? Everything is very, very important. So to talk on this topic, we have Dr. Rath. So Dr. Rath, I would like to welcome you to this program on the behalf of OCF. And do you want to say something before we start, or shall we start with our program?
No. First, I would like to thank you. This is a very nice platform, at least to connect with not just the youngsters, but a wider range of audience, including the existing entrepreneurs or the aspiring entrepreneurs.
I think we lost Dr. Rath.
This always remains the bottleneck, the financing, and it is very important that we discuss about it. Of course, I will share a few of my learnings, but I'm here to learn also from the viewers.
Sure,
Thank
sure,
you,
sure.
thank you for inviting.
Welcome, welcome. So let's straight away get into the topic. Let me ask you my first question. What are your goals in terms of financial decisions for your company? What exactly do you look for your company? Your financial goals, let's say.
Yeah, yes, there's nice question. See, I will answer it in two parts. When you talk about financial decisions, first, is I would like to answer as an investor, and then I would like to answer it as a startup. That will
Sure,
address
sure,
both
sure.
kind of audience, right? See, as an investor, I always believe in making my financial decision based on the value being created, right? So, as we have seen post COVID, there was a lot of debate in value versus valuation thing, right? So the valuation bubble is either burst or getting burst or whatever. The value creation is more important, right? So. So value becomes a very big part, and that too not just value but a long-term value. In fact, many investors like me or bigger investors, what they say is, how do you make a financial decision is based on the company's vision in terms of how it is decided. Um it should not be just any other business. What you must, as an entrepreneur, think is what is the problem, where is the gap, in the society, in the economy, in the country, or whatever. So, and your idea, how is it addressing the gap, or is it a solution to that problem? And if you are making that solution or that opportunity as your business plan, then that creates a value automatically. So it should not be just another plan, but it should solve some problem. It should be a solution to some problem. If you are addressing that and that becomes your business plan, then it is easier to make a business decision for any investors like me, right? So of course, that is one long-term value. Second is the bridging the gap, the problem gap that I was saying. And of course, the last one is which everybody thinks in general is financial sustainability and growth. Where I put my money, there has to be, it should not give me just a short-term result, but it should have a long-term, which is sustainable growth. So, these are few criteria which I look forward as an investor. But as a startup, if I talk about as an entrepreneur, what I think is I take financial decisions whether to take finance, whether I need finance, is if that finance adds value to my business strategy. As my business strategy is to scale up, is to speed up, or whatever. So if that aligns to my business strategy, then that is one thing that creates the need for financial decision. Second is whether it supports innovation. Because you have to be creative, you have to be innovative. Things are changing rapidly, the market is changing rapidly, choices are changing rapidly. So whether the finance that I'm planning, will it support the innovation? And third, very important, is whether that financial decision helps in maintaining a healthy cash flow, because operationalization is also very important. People talk big about strategy, about idea, but the implementation is the biggest challenge everywhere, not just in India. Everywhere the implementation is the challenge. So my financial decision as a startup is, one is if it is aligned to business strategy, if it supports innovation, and third is if it maintains healthy cash flow. That is very, very important as a startup.
Actually, I just a few days back I just saw a meme where it was written that the motive of a startup is not only to raise finance.
Correct.
No, there is a lot of misconception in the entire startup ecosystem that a
Ganti na
startup
daw mo.
only
Hindi pa.
raise finance.
Wala ganti ta.
Yes. So in this, let's with this backdrop, if I ask you a question that as an entrepreneur or as an investor, what should be our approach? Whether how to raise a fund, or let's say how to invest a fund, what should ideally should be the approach? We just talked about few
Yeah,
things, but let's.
correct.
I just want you to get
Yeah,
deeper insight about this.
yeah. See, few things. One is at a very strategic level, and one at a very operational level. I will tell you. The investment approach is, one thing for any entrepreneur or any business is definitely thinking about long term. Anything that you think short term, then it will not work. It has to be a long term strategy. The investment, even the investor or anything that, I mean, we will discuss in little later. But whosoever your investment audience is, or where you want to take the investment, one thing is for sure, that including the entrepreneur and the investor and the customer. So all stakeholders will look forward to a long-term thing, long-term solution, long-term value, whatever. So long-term is very important. Second is, you should not leave your core, which is strong fundamentals. Like we all talk about strong fundamentals. So if, for example, my one of the companies that I invest is Pottery Fabric, so which promotes art and artists and weavers. So they should not compromise on promoting the art or promoting the craft or promoting the artists or weavers. That is the fundamental. You cannot. Just for the sake of growth, you cannot compromise on the fundamentals. Otherwise, the entire business plan will become null and void. And third important thing, any investors or the approach that an investment thinks is having a passionate team. We people talk about it a lot, but I, as an entrepreneur and investor, I'm telling you, it is really, really challenging to find a passionate team member, passionate employee, passionate entrepreneur, passionate entrepreneur, whatever terminology we use. But it is really difficult in the business scenario, who can come on board as an employee or as a board member or as a consultant, who's whatsoever. But to have this similar kind of passion, similar kind of drive to make the change is very difficult. So that is very important. And the last one, I believe, is every model has to be scalable. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for any investment to make or to think about as an investor or as an entrepreneur. So it has to be scalable in some or the other way. I mean, it cannot be overnight scalable, but there has to be a scalable plan. So, these are four simple things I believe as an investment approach. One is the long-term thing. Second is the strong fundamental. Third is having a passionate team. And fourth is if the model is scalable or not. So, these are the four investment approaches which I feel is relevant as an investor or as an entrepreneur. I believe these are very, very key things.
Okay, like when we started our small sustainability firm, we were mostly bootstrapped.
Correct.
Mostly, it was 100% bootstrap. We have not taken a single penny from anyone. So with that, we could at least Let's say we invested around 3 to 4 lakh rupees. Now we are doing a business of around 70 to 80 lakh rupees. Let's say that is
Amazing,
what
amazing, very nice.
is
Yeah.
the scale with which we have reached with a mere
Mm.
amount of, let's say, 3 to 4 lakh. So, as an entrepreneur, what do you suggest? Whether a company should start an entrepreneurial journey with bootstrapping, or it should ideally look for money from some other source? What what ideally is the best mechanism you feel is?
See, because OCF is definitely having a larger audience with varied profiles and sectors. So I would like to take this opportunity to first tell you what are the fundraising options. If you give me a minute,
Sure,
I'll
sure,
just
sure,
tell you
sure.
what are the, theoretically, what are the fundraising options. So the base option, during the early, journey of any entrepreneur on a startup. So first step is always the bootstrap. In fact, interestingly, they call it as a FFF model, right? FFF means it is family, friends, or fools, right? That is FFF model. Theoretically, they say FFF model. Either you take money from friends or family or fools. Fools because, of course, you don't have any uh, traction, and then still they invest on you. So that is first step. And in that same level, they also call it as seed capitalists. There are many seed capitalists. They call it seed because it is basically in the idea stage. Startup is in the idea stage. That is why it is called seed capitalist. And of course, there are angel investors. We all understand angel investors. All of this happens at a very early stage when your company is nothing. It is just an idea or just being set up, and you are doing something. And the second stage, where you grow a little, you have a lot of, you have made some progress, you have traction, you're generating revenue, you have scaled up a little. Then the second stage is about the venture capitalist, or they call it as the second one is called merger and acquisition. Also, what happens is a bigger company acquires you, right? Baiju has acquired a lot of companies, including Akash and many things, right? And the next one is the strategic alliance, right? So these are the second stages. And the last stage, of course, for any investment is when your company grows big. The last stage is IPO, initial public offering, which of course many companies goes, public. In fact, I recently did a video on unicorns. Like you talked about your company being bootstrapped. We have around 110 unicorns. So Zerodha is one of the example which is completely bootstrapped till now. It is a unicorn, more than $1 billion valuation, but still bootstrapped, right? And I hope, Bhaktosh, your company also becomes one soon, right? So the stages, So of course, here in Odisha, the entrepreneurial ecosystem is not as advanced as like say Bangalore or Mumbai or Delhi NCR. Where there are other options easily available, like angel investors or say seed capitalists. So these are not available. So mostly people start bootstrapped here, right? And of course, uh, then slowly you move to when you have a little traction, when people get to know your products, at least your product is ready, and then you go to the next, to the investors, angel investors or seed capitalists. There are amazing options also these days. There are a lot of investors available, lot of investors available today. In fact, there are more investors than the startups. There are really, really more investors than startups. In fact, you must be uh, knowing, as per the data by National Stock Exchange, by 2019 to 23, in this 5 years, there are around 120 million investors. 120 million investors, And only in January 24, only in January 2024, 5.4 million investors registered. Right? Only in January 2024. And by February 2024, I'm talking about this data by National Stock Exchange, NSE. So by February 2024, the investors registered number is 161 million. Right. So, there are a lot of investors. In fact, investors are ready to put in their money. They are trying to find out the right startup ideas, right people, this thing. So yeah, bootstrap is the only choice available with us. It is not that you wanted bootstrap, but
Absolutely.
what choice you had here. So that is there. But of course, now as we are growing, as a country, as a state, of course there will be investors ecosystem. In coming time, I mean, in your next couple of questions, maybe we will discuss about what are the opportunities. How can one get access to those, and that we will discuss. Yeah.
Okay. Another option you talked about is, let's say, crowdfunding. Let's say
Yeah.
I crowdfund my organization. I get money from various sources. So can you throw some light on this crowdfunding? What are the pros? What are the cons? How an entrepreneur should approach, if at all
Yeah.
he is approaching crowdfunding?
Yes. Before coming on to crowdfunding, I'll just add to my that the investment opportunities thing, which is important. See, many people think, if there are 160 million investors, how do we access them? How do we assess them? We don't have access to those investors. But interestingly, in Odisha itself, what I'm happy about is there are a lot of business incubators also. Uh, there's a incubation in KIT, there is incubation in Nalanda Institute, there is incubation in IIT, there is incubation in NIT Rourkela. So a lot of incubations are coming. In fact, uh, the company I spoke about, Potashri, was incubated in one of these institutions, right? And of course, Bhaktosh, you also know that few of the companies who have been incubated in KIT or NIT have received amazing grants also, not just loan, grants. And we all understand the difference between grant and loan, right? So amazing grants. If your idea is sustainable, including your companies, there are amazing grants available, and from lakhs to crores of rupees of grants are available.
We too
In
have
fact, there
received
are
some amount of grants from the government of Odisha for, we have
correct.
received
So
some.
amazing. Yeah, because of your idea, right? Because of your sustainable idea. That is what I'm saying. So if your idea is right, I mean, people are there. In fact, there are many high net worth individuals. In fact, many NRIs also. Who are employees in the US. They don't want to come here, but they want to invest. These days, they do not want to invest in SIPs. They want to invest in startups. That is the new normal these days. And in fact, post COVID, there have been many research that speaks. If you have invested in 20 companies, and then if two or three companies did well, you are profitable. That is that is the trend. Now you talk about crowdfunding, venture capitalist. How do you get the fund? What are the pros and cons of getting the funding? Yes, so I will talk about the venture capitalist, I mean, or the funding, crowdfunding, or whatever. See, there are many kinds of funds. Yeah, again, because there are varied kinds of audience, so I must tell this. There are majorly three kinds of venture capitalists, right? Where you get the fund. One is called seed stage venture capitalist fund. One is early stage venture capitalist fund, and one is called growth stage venture capitalist fund, right? So, what happens is, if you are very at initial idea, you have created a prototype, and the idea is very good, then you go to the seed stage venture capitalist, right? and we have made little traction, and you have taken your product or services to the market, and people have appreciated it, and you know that it is scalable. Then you go to the early stage, and when you have reached at a very good level, suppose you are an unicorn or about to be a unicorn with $1 billion valuation and those things, then you go to growth stage venture capitalist fund, right? So what happens here is, I'll just tell you, what happens these days, interestingly, I mean, this is, we are in an amazing time. Every one of us is an amazing time, because even the funding is so systematic and structured. In fact, many of the venture capitalists have taken their domain. That is very important. Suppose, seed stage venture capitalist fund, I'll tell you, there's one India Quotient, which only focuses on fintech, for example, right? So lending card, they've invested in lending card, or for example, 314 Capital, which target audience is only consumer tech, right? Or B Next, which is again technology and fintech. These are early seed stage venture capitalist on. When you are only at the idea level, these are the venture capitalists, or the where you can assess the fund. And there are many early stage venture capitalists also. They also like, for example, you must have heard Excel India or Matrix India Partners, like Bloom Ventures, you know so they have say, like, for example, Excel India has have invested in Flipkart, Swiggy. Matrix Partners have invested in Ola and Practo. Bloom Ventures have invested in Unacademy. Kalari Capital have invested in Pure.fit, and these are companies which, when they were, I mean, today Ola, Flipkart, Swiggy is bigger. I am talking about when they were just in their growing phase, when these people invested, right? And there are growth stage funding also, when you have grown a bit, and then you are just before the IPO stage, right? And there also there are many fundings, like we have heard about Sequoia Capital, right? We all know about Sequoia Capital. They've invested in Byju's, Zomato. Now see, both of Zomato has gone to IPO, of course. Like Safe Partners, Paytm and Swiggy. Again, Paytm has gone to IPO. So all of these are the big names. So what I'm saying is, these days there are very structured kind of investments happening in terms
Yeah,
of crowdfunding, on in terms of venture capitalists, right? So which has easy access for the entrepreneurs and the companies. But you asked about pros and cons. To answer that, so there are many obvious advantages. One is you get capital injection. You get to have your working capital. What you can do as an entrepreneur, as a company, is you can easily scale up, right? In terms of your products, you can scale up in terms of your team also. You can increase your marketing team, and you can increase your production team, and you can increase your supply chain, which can enter into new markets, right? So all of these, you need working capital, and with this investment, this is one positive. Second is, when you get such investors on your board, what happens is their expertise and their mentorship helps. Like many of us, these earlier we used to watch Shark Tank US, now so Shark Tank India. These days people, or they want to take a few person, because of your marketing skill, because of your technical skill, because of your supply chain skills, or whatever, right? So with their expertise on board, it is very easy to scale up, right? Next is the network that they get, the networking that they get. With the investors coming in, their network is our network now. As a company, because they have invested, they also want us to grow, so they can get their exit. Next is, when next advantage is, when you get such good names with you, your credibility increases, your valuation increases as a company. Like you mentioned, your company has received a grant from government of Odisha. Only this statement has made your company more valuable than anything else. Because if somebody has given a grant, which means your idea is really sustainable, right? So it increases the credibility, and of course it reduces the financial risk also, with the immediate capital, getting pumped in. But there are few, where with advantages, there are certain disadvantages also, because you had asked about cons also. So I must tell you, there are few things. One is, uh, it is like riding the tiger. You cannot get down. You have the pressure to scale. You have the pressure to perform. Then the story comes: you perform or perish. Either perform or perish. So you have this continuous pressure to scale. You have to grow at any cost. Right. So that is one of the pressure. Now you might ask, why is this a pressure? Why is this a pressure? So let me give an example. There are few startups, like, say, for example, Go Mechanic, for example, Byju's also. So what happens is, to achieve growth at any cost. So people, what they do is, consciously or subconsciously, they have to go beyond the ethical lines, and for a long term, that is not a good thing. The Go Mechanic CEO, it is in record. He has said that, we did a few wrong things because we wanted growth at all cost, and that made the company shut down, which is a very sad thing. Those things. Uh, Plus, second pressure is about the exit pressure, exit expectation. When any investors, these days, the discussion is about 2x, 3x, 5x, 10x returns, right? Which means, if I'm investing 1 crore, I need to immediately get 2 crores or 3 crores or 4 crores back in no time. So that is exit expectation. That expectation is really dangerous. What happens is, the entrepreneurs' mission, vision, values, that gets lost, and this financial pressure comes in the front seat. So that is a real challenge, right? And one of the disadvantages, not exactly disadvantages, but there are certain legal challenges, complex legal agreements with the investors. That also creates challenge at times, right? We have seen, few startups getting into legal trouble recently, right? So those are few disadvantages that, I believe, with every advantages, there are few disadvantages also. Yeah. So I hope
You talked
I
about
made this.
one particular thing called working capital. So as a
Yeah.
small startup, we have always had problems with regards to working capital. So let's say
Correct.
Diwali aa gaya ya kuch aa gaya, and it's very difficult for us to manage because
Correct.
the demand is very high. We don't have that much of money to supply that
Correct.
much.
Correct.
So as a startup, how do you think we should manage our working capital? That is the first question. Second question is, let's say I have received money from XYZ,
Hmm.
and after that, instead of doing the stuff in a manner where I spend lavishly and unneeded hiring, the things which are not needed, I start doing all those things. I start hiring people. I start acquiring assets. I start doing things which are absolutely not needed. So, if at all I am a startup which has just received my funds, on what things should I focus at the outset? That is the first question. Second is, how should I manage my working capital? These two questions.
Yeah, see, I will, give a simple and realistic answers, because people in this group are learned people. Of course, they understand everything, including you. See, um, when you get a uh, when you get a fund, see, in fact, I will start with the bank thing. Interesting, because I had invested in one of the manufacturing units. So what happens is, even banks also will tell you, we can give you money for your machinery, but not for working capital, because if you do not pay back, we can seize your machine and then can sell. So that is easy for us, but we cannot give you working capital. That working capital has been a challenge, not for just startup, but I'm just little making a pivot here, that for the entire MSME, if you ask any MSME sector people, they will say working capital has been our bottleneck throughout, right? Of course, coming back to startup where you have at least access to the investors, where you get the working capital, right? So now, uh, to answer both your questions, no, there are only two things I will answer, and then of course we will discuss. One is you must have a proper forecasting and budgeting. That is very, very important. What happens is people, for the sake of taking the money or getting the money, they do this valuation game and then they show what has happened in the past, right? But like there is a interesting quote: "What has got you here will not take you there." Right. Of course, what has got you here is amazing work you have done in terms of product, in terms of your team, in terms of your market and whatever, and then you have got amazing valuation, and then you have got the capital. You use it as working capital or whatever, but you have got it. But how do you utilize it meaningfully is very important. Hence, one is forecasting and budgeting is very, very important. Are you sticking to the budget that you have planned for the next, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? Like they say, short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals for that money also. So that is one. And second thing, very, very important for startups and investors, which lacks in many of the companies, is the transparency with the stakeholders. Transparency with the investors. You know that I have I've at least followed the Byju's story. Till the end, investors have been asking for only one thing. Be transparent. What went wrong. Just let us know what went wrong. And still there are no answers. At least in the media or research, there is no answers. What went wrong? You don't know what went wrong. They did amazing things. You still don't know what went wrong. So there are
সুগার
even
ওগুলো খাচ্ছে না, বাদাম তো খায়,
uh, uh,
বাদাম।
yeah. Yeah. So second answer is transparency with the stakeholders or the clients or whosoever is very, very, very important. So, how do we manage the working capital? Is my answers are, these, two things which I seriously believe that one is forecasting and budgeting is very important. Second is the transparency is important. And the next question you asked is, regarding the working capital only, how do you manage that? See, few things I believe as an entrepreneur is you have to make a calculated risk in terms of decision making. Where you want to invest, where you don't want to invest. Like you mentioned, people invested in making assets, making things luxurious, and then later on repenting that we should not have done that. Hence, the decision making where to allocate your resource is very important. Allocation of resource becomes really, really important. Which what happens is investors, after putting their money, they would want their money back in 2x, 3x, 5x, whatever. Now they do not have time, energy, or patience to get into how you are allocating that 1 crore, 2 crore, 3 crore, or whatever they have invested. But as an entrepreneur, it is very important that I take a calculated risk in terms of wise decision making and allocating of resources. I think resource allocation is a real challenge. They don't do it properly. So yeah, so these are my take on how do you manage your working capital. Yeah.
I'll just give you an example of what you said. Since I mentor kids who prepare for the civil services, I was
Yeah.
once called by Byju's to give a demo way back in 2019. And the amount they must have spent on me just for a day, I can never imagine.
Correct.
So I personally believe that this is a wastage of money. They
True.
could have otherwise utilized for much better purposes.
Correct.
Okay. Now,
No, I will just add to what you've said. In fact, because of this, lately when their valuation declined, now in fact you must have, I'm sure you know, their valuation has been reduced by 99% from $22 billion to less than $1 billion. See, 99% valuation drop. And in fact, Ravindran Baijus in one of the interviews, I'm not, I mean, in fact, we are no one to judge a company or a person, but I'm just quoting what he said. He said that there is a thin line between miss sales and aggressive sales. Because we had to do something which is beyond the lines. Few people call it miss sales, few call it aggressive sales, which means even aggressive sales also happened or miss sales happened. Something happened, so those are a few things which did not go right. Yeah.
absolutely, that is what I personally felt there, where there would have been, I think, 3 to 4 people working. There were around 40 people working in the same
Yeah, that's
department.
the correct.
It was shocking for me to see these things.
Correct.
I
Correct.
think they were burning
Correct.
cash or what, I don't know. But that was something which was not something which I could take
Not
it.
much needed. Yeah.
Absolutely, not much needed. Now, my next question is, you talked about forecasting.
Hmm.
How important is forecasting? How should we forecast? What should we look into? What should be in our minds while we forecast?
See, my thought process is see, I will answer it in two things. One is about talking about the future. Forecasting means is about future, and then at a very operational level. One is at a strategic level. One is at a operational level. See, as a strategic level, we must understand where are we going in the near future. Where are we going in the near future? For example, see, research says, I'm sure you know that. Like earlier, we were discussing about consumer tech, fintech, e-commerce. Those days are gone. E-commerce, Flipkart, fintech. A lot of fintech companies came. In fact, edtech also. Like uh, Byju's, Unacademy, Udemy, Vedantu. There are many came who did not go as planned, which did not go as per plan. In fact, the platform that we are discussing, Zoom, the way Zoom thought to go after COVID, it did not happen that way. It did not happen that way. In fact, Zoom also had to fire many employees, unplanned employees, right? In fact, it is not just, I mean, these companies, I am telling you about Google. You mentioned about an example, people about mishiring, overhiring. See, in fact, Google, when last year end, it fired 12,000 employees. Google firing 12,000 employees is not a very good sign. But, to justify what their senior management quoted, or one of the board of directors quoted, was even alarming. It said we hired 1 lakh surplus, hence we had to fire 12,000 employees. If we don't fire 12,000 employees now, we will have to fire more in coming times. See, which means Google is talking about it. So anyway, so what's happening is these are past trends. So we have to understand what is future. Now, future, people are talking about space tech. People are talking about health tech. People are talking about agri tech. So now people are talking about ESG. You know that, sustainability things, right? We have to see where future is, right? In fact, the entire forecasting happens only if we understand the future, or if we are ready to learn, or if we are ready to accept that yes, this is going to be the future. We all know why Nokia failed, or BlackBerry failed, right? Because it is not that they did not forecast. Of course, they might have forecast, but they were not adaptable. They were not willing to change, I believe, right? So there are many such case studies easily available with us, which So forecasting is not just about paper and research. It is also, as a company, we must be adaptable. That is very important. They say future is coming soon, right? What you might have projected as 10 years down the line, maybe those are happening in next 2 years. You are not sure. So very important is the adaptability. That is one thing which is very important thing. And I also think that choosing value over valuation is also very important thing. You must see that whatever comes, am I creating right value in future? That is very important than right valuation in future. So these are two things, and of course two more things. Of course, the next two things that I am using, this applies to all the answers, which is scale and speed. These two are really important. So the company that I'm making, the forecasting, so these two are really important things, scale and speed. So these will be my take here.
How important is risk management in all this entire?
Yeah, very important. I think risk first is taking calculated risk is first is very important. Like I'll tell you, but see, because we are our topic is finance and funding, so I'll talk about financial risk management mostly. That is very important to keep the context. So what an entrepreneur must do to manage the risk, that is very important, right? Risk management is obviously important for everybody, but what should we do? So first is we must always think to diversify. Diversify not in terms of our mission, vision, and values. Diversify in terms of our product, in terms of our market, in terms of our solutions that we are bringing. Right? We must make it adaptable. We have to add. If technology is trending, we must add technology to it. Right? Uh, mm, so 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 one is diversification. Second is um, to manage the risk, your cash flow management has to be very robust. What happens is there are many leaks in this system, not intentional maybe, but unintentional also, right? So the cash flow is very important. That has to be managed, and controlling the cost is also a challenge. Cost control is very important. Um, I will give an example. When I was working with Vedanta in 2008 was one of the bad, worst recession we all understand. That time our cost of production of aluminium was around 2000 US dollar per ton, and whereas the sale price, the London Metal Exchange price was 3200, which means we are enjoying a benefit of 1200 plus, right? And suddenly after 2008, the LME price or the selling price came down to 1500, whereas our cost of production is 2000. So from 1200 plus 2, we came to minus 500, suddenly. Then what happened was the entire management, the entire team, I was in supply chain, we said that no, cost control is important. Everything has to be cost control. You have to see how can it be zero defect. We can see how we can get the best quality at low cost. Is this needed? We kept on, now every requirement came to us. We kept on questioning that whether it is required or not, whether it is required or not. If required, no. Can it be put in back seat? We can put it like, now why I'm saying this is, why this cost control measure has to come when you are in pain? Why it cannot come at why? See, so we were at 2000, and you wouldn't believe we could cut it down to 1500, which means 1500 was possible. So when the London Metal Exchange price was 3200, that time also we could have done it at 1500. But what happens is, when a startup is enjoying its dream run, they don't think about cost control. So it is very important for entrepreneurs to, if they want to really manage the risk, then you have to start thinking about cost control at a very early stage and at every stage, even when you are growing rapidly. That time also this thing. And in India specifically, one more risk management I would request all the entrepreneurs to be legally compliant. That is very, very important. People don't think about it too much, but your paperwork, your approvals, everything has to be legally compliant as per the government norms or whichever arbitrary body or compliance body is there. You must, the compliance is very, very important, because you never know. After few years, you might get into legal trouble, and whatever you have done all these years, will go in vain, right? Many entrepreneurs, and I mean, and many uh, good company leaders have landed behind the bars, just because of legal trouble, right? So it is very important. One more thing I will add to this risk management, financial risk management, is to also not just manage money, but also one more important is the data security. It is very, very important. Data security is as important as your physical security or cost security. Data security is very, very important. So you must have robust monitoring system, right? And the control mechanism is very, very important in terms of data server. How do you keep your data? How can you track your data? Can you go back and track it properly? Every transaction, right? All of these are really, really important. So I think these are few points, like diversification or cash flow management, cost control, legal protection, compliance, robust systems and processes, including data security. So these are few risk management techniques which I believe can help in managing your finance better.
So basically, we have come at the fag end of our discussion today. It was excellent having you. So I would like to ask my other panelists who are there, if they have any questions, they can ask to Dr. Rath. Anything anyone has, they can. And also, it is a great honor that Pranab sir is also here with us. If at all he wants to share some of his insights with people like us, then it would be of
Hello, sir.
great honor for
Mhm.
for us.
Hello, am I audible?
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah, yeah. Hello, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. I mean, I'm really pleased and honored to have this opportunity of listening to such insightful,
Thank you, sir.
information about that, Dr. Ratha.
Thank you, sir.
Very, very well you have explained. I'm sure, particularly for the rookies, it would be insightful thing. It's eye opener. They would have understood everything. Very important. The only thing is my request is I entirely agree with you. Whatever from finance point of view, investment point of view, what you said was absolutely correct. The only thing is, please educate the learned audience also on the valuation, because this has become, in fact, in many of my articles and many of my talks, I've also been speaking very strongly about this topic. I always say that it's should not be. I mean, your focus should be on value addition and
Correct.
not valuation alone. This is what you correctly, when you're giving the examples of Baidu and these kind of unicorns, like what went wrong suddenly. And, like you very correctly said, the only question the investor started asking is transparency. It's primarily transparency in the corporate governance, and which was not very clear. And of course, to make profit, because
Correct.
it's something very perplexing for me. Even I've been talking to many top VCs and investors across the world recently. In fact, today itself, I had a meeting just before. I was wondering whether I'll be able to attend to this. I was telling Mr. Behra also. Well, I'm lucky that I got an opportunity to listen to you. What I
Thank you so
think,
much. So kind of you, sir.
no, honestly. And I was just talking to my investors in Australia. We had a lengthy meeting today because I happen to be a director in Melbourne-based company called WeVenture, and we are trying to expand it to India, and that's the reason we are having constant discussions and all these things. And the same question they were asking, like on what basis the valuation is being done and funding, huge investment is being given to the Indian
Correct.
so-called unicorns who are still in the
Correct.
red, making losses, but still, attracting investment. This is something very perplexing. I mean, they are unable to understand the logic behind it. And unfortunately, this is the kind of a bubble which was created. I would blame even the investors community for it. I mean, you need to be always responsible. It's not like putting across any and everything. And second, a small clarification, Dr. Rasa, if you don't mind.
Please, sir.
Is you said about at the beginning about 124 million or almost close to 150 million investors in India registered in NSE. Am I right?
Yes, yes. As per the data, yes.
All right. Now, this is a little, I would say, to permit me, little misleading in the sense, I mean, had that been the case, then the startup companies, particularly, and the MSC segment also would be wondering if
Correct.
there are so many investors, then why we are not getting the kind of investment which is required. And, it is the NSE, National Stock Exchange. Anyone, like my son who is working, he also has become an investor. I mean, he
Correct.
invested in
Correct.
companies and all. But that investor is different from the kind of investor that we in the startup world are looking for. I mean, we can't expect those investors to put in money in our company directly. Will they understand? They may not. They will not. And understanding of that, like I have my pool of investors, angel investor. I also
Correct.
have invested in quite a few scripts, so many this thing. And this was exactly what. Forget it. I shouldn't take longer time. Thank you very much for giving me also an opportunity. It's an honor, and thank you all of you, the speakers, the listeners, the participants. And look, Odisha is shining, Odisha is rising, India is incredible. So please take pride in that,
Correct.
but then try to be different. And you can definitely do it. Like I've been in Bangalore and participate in all kind of startup this thing. We have regularly happening. In fact, on 26, 27th, I have been invited by Presidency University also as a chief guest in their startup cell. What I'm saying is a similar kind of opportunity you do have in India, I mean, in Odisha, and particularly in Bhubaneswar. I wish that opportunity is available across the state in all districts. Then you can have a good support
Correct.
ecosystem. And
Correct.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. God bless you. Pleasure and honor to
Thank you,
be
sir.
with you.
Thank you, sir. So kind of you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for guiding us. So this is where we call it a day. Thank you. Yes.
Bhavtosh sir, one second,
Sure.
Bhavtosh sir.
Sure.
I would just like to extend my heartfelt thanks to Mr. Bhavtosh first, because he has really prepared wonderful questions, and which comes from any entrepreneur's heart. And
Correct.
kudos to Dr. Adarsh Rath, such a young and a dynamic personality, and he answered so nicely, and so practical things he discussed, he told so nicely, expressed everything in detail. And I'm sure everybody who today attended this program must have got a vast knowledge about this particular topic. And from OCF, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to Mr. Bhavtosh and Dr. Adarsh Rath. So that's kudos to you, and wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Bhavtosh. Thank you, the entire team of OCF for having me. Okay, look forward to meeting you all soon.